This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-host, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. How nice to be with you again this morning, or whatever time you're listening to us. Sorry.
Yes, whatever time, space, experience. Yeah. We have a very good show for you today. Today we are talking about seismic shifts. Mm-hmm. There is a whole lot of energetic shaking going on out there. And some of us are feeling these vibrations internally, and then some of us are just seeing it shake down in their lives, our lives. So stay tuned, because we're gonna talk about how to enjoy this dance as consciousness and not resist the shakeup.
That's the important key, not to resist it. Go with it. So if you want to know more about us or about the show, please visit our website at www.Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. At that location, you will find all our information and different ways to reach us. You'll find out about our podcasts. We have all these shows there. Our blogs. Joan and I both write each week, and we post things there about our meetups, because we're all around the Puget Sound area of Seattle for her, and me here in Portland, Oregon, and then about our private sessions that we do different ways. And you can get all our links and Facebook social media goodies there too.
Sounds great. And you can also find out about my meetups. I have one coming up in Seattle on the 8th of April, and then I am doing a Life Beyond Limits on the 22nd of April, and then I'm back in Tacoma on the 28th of April. Go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, to find out more. How about your groups?
Well, I am now offering, using the Zoom video conferencing platform, Fuzzy Photons Playground Groups. And that's for people that are not here in Portland with me or at too far of a distance, who'd like to be part of a group dynamic. And the Zoom is really nice because it's live, interactive, visual contact, and you can feel the energy moving around, and we have a great time. And I have them Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific and Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific. And so if you'd like to find out more about that, you can go to the website, certainly the show, or directly to me at janetandbeyond.com and find out the info. So please, if you want to get up close and personal and fall over, there you go.
So real quick, Janet, how do they fall over on Zoom?
Well, it's interesting, Joan, because we've found ourselves doing this each week. I work with my hands always, right? And if I put them on the screen, people feel it. And it's really just sudden, and people are, definitely connecting with one another and feeling that state that we call consciousness, heart-centered awareness, and you can have a physical reaction. It happens all the time, when we work with clients, but it's kind of fun to see it happen.
Yes, and I was asking for the group because totally rocked that. I've had distance sessions which have had pretty unexpected responses. So, the thing I love about the kind of work that you and I do is that, you can come to a session with a laundry list of complaints of, things to work on. And those not only fall into place, but all sorts of unexpected benefits and bonuses happen as well. So I love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, you can feel that shift in reality. I think that's what it is. You're feeling where the reality state shifts. And it's a powerful thing. We can think things, we think we can feel things, but when you take a physical position and you shift physically, there's something that challenges us. Especially when there is no one else there and all of a sudden you find yourself moving. So it's good stuff. Good way to engage the world. So, and it leads into our seismic shifts, right?
It does, doesn't it? I was just thinking that. Keep this in mind as we talk about seismic shifts, because no matter what is a physical evidence out there of all the craziness that's going on, and not whatever, physical symptoms you might have within you that you could, diagnose off of WebMD or MayoClinic.com or something like that, that there are alternatives to responding and reacting to it as consciousness that can just make huge transformations in your life.
We are so trained often to not show anything, to not show a response. And we do a disservice to us, or to ourselves, when we are doing that to ourselves. And one way we want to be able to notice and be free and fluid in our world is having the freedom to express what is happening within us without a setup that it has to be painful or come at cost or whatever. And that gets into rule sets and all how we interact in the world. But I think sometimes we lose, it's not appropriate, it's here, there, And so one thing that's happening with this shifting that we're noticing is that we may feel a displacement inside that we have been unaware of and now is present.
I'm contemplating what you said, because there's two parts to that. I mean, it's true that we get trained to ignore.
Right.
I think we get trained to ignore our inner symptoms, especially if you're male and you played sports, you were told to shake it off.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if you're a busy mom, you don't have time to pay attention to your symptoms because you've got dependents
children
on
or something. Yeah,
that kind of thing. And so on one hand, there is that where it is tuning into your inner symptoms so that you can actually respond to them and have a shift.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
And that's very useful. So the second part of that, though, is not reacting. So there's a useful thing to not reacting to the drama that's going on in the outside world, because that's getting caught up in the roller coaster ride that is designed to put you into a reactive mode. I cannot speak now. It's designed to put you into a reactive mode to keep you off centered and keep you off balance, rather than coming from a centered place where you are at choice, where you are responding rather than reacting. So those are two different things there. But
so you can see there's a lot of entanglement that's going on, and that's why clarity and being able to view ourselves, being aware of how we view ourselves and in our world and as consciousness and as human. And so for all of you listeners out there, this is what we look to make you aware of, is that there's a part of you always that's involved in daily life, and then there's always this awareness of yourself as consciousness also. And that's always running. So where your daily life, you may be very busy and involved, that does not disconnect you unless you choose to disconnect from that awareness of yourself as consciousness. And Joan and I are always looking to bring you into a place where you're navigating both ways, right? But you're holding that you are consciousness, and you're acting out as human is that interface, and how that's just very seamless, and it doesn't take ritual, or I don't even think discipline. It just takes your willingness to be present to it. And in doing that, it's much easier to navigate, and we use that term a lot, with how you are in the world, how we are in the world. And so as we're feeling all this information showing up, and it feels sort of familiar, or it doesn't, or you start to notice it's a pattern of some age, it can be unsettling, which is the whole nature of something that's resonating seismically.
Right.
Like, so hold on to your seats,
Right. Hold on to your seats. And I'm going to hold that thought as well. So hold on to your seats, hold that thought. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about. We're just scraping the surface here, but we need to stop for a commercial break. So stay tuned because we'll be talking about seismic shifts when we come right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about seismic shifts.
They're out there. Now, we're not talking necessarily earthquakes, okay? We're talking about energy around us, which would include Earth, certainly, but we're not saying that there are earthquakes waiting to happen or anything. What we're doing is we're feeling that magma, and I guess that's it. We are the volcano. There's magma in all of us, and it is just starting to come out, and it doesn't have to be destructive in any way, shape, or form. It's just realizing that there's all this inside of us that is because of this vibrational energy that's strong, we're sensing in a new way, perhaps, that is releasing that. And so don't encode any of this in a negative way. Encode this as a way in a neutral state, which is what consciousness is. It's neutral. That is just allowing for informational reorganization, because that's what we are. So,
yeah. I agree with you, and don't get confused. We're not predicting earthquakes necessarily, because actually earthquakes happen all the time. But some of us are experiencing inner earthquakes, and some of us are seeing our lives fall apart, which feels like an earthquake. And the upside to this, or the positive side to this, for me, is that it's evidence of greater consciousness coming into form. Mm-hmm. So it is like a higher vibration coming into form, and that which is getting shaken up is anything that is attached to, considered solid and real, but especially internally, it's like concepts and beliefs that you have been holding on to that seem to be solid and real. And then as the greater light of you come into place, all those things start to disintegrate. So here's the other positive thing that I was trying to remember. What was I going to say before we went to break? It was this, is that you are consciousness. You are that greater light coming into form. You're not just your body or your personality or the story in your life or the character that you're playing in your life, but you are this greater consciousness. And when more of you comes into your physical form, energy is going to be shaken up and released. And the same thing in your life, as your greater light shines more authentically who you are, it'll have a reverberative effect. And it's ultimately freeing. It can be exhilarating. In fact, some people are really excited about this change. So that's what I have to say about that.
I think where I'm catching awareness here is that, you like to, it's like the muck that's in us, right? And it can be mucky, which means it might be wet, or it could be dry, it could be ashes. It's things that we haven't maybe had a way to deal with in the past that are different now because the energy around us is different. We are establishing community. We talked about this in group last night, is that for as separate, I guess we were talking about, as much as we are separate in our experience, we are one in our community. Which means that you're seeing that in the social media with the Me Too and all these different tags or hashtags or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not up on the lingo, not your lingo, the lingo. And information is flowing, and so there is no any more separate shame, etc. Because this is the time when you're seeing that you're not alone, where something has felt lonely and created a sense of alone. It is now, okay, I'm not alone in this. It's my alone personal experience, but you over there have a matching experience, and so you get me, and we're getting each other. And in that transforms anything. When you have that awareness, and if you're holding yourself as consciousness in that state of malleable reality, of potential, it takes that material and it transcends it. And that's what we were doing a lot in group last night. Now that I remember what we were doing in group last night. Right. We were noticing those things. And we didn't even have to notice what they were, okay? You don't have to dig and find a label. You just have to allow, there's probably some things in here, and I'm feeling pushed, or I'm feeling this or that. And if that was just different, if that was useful to get me to a new place, what would it be like? And engaging in that place. And so there are different ways of dealing with what's showing up, I think. And embrace it, even though you might not want to.
So, yes. And so what we were talking about earlier was about how, what I was noticing is how people are feeling more individually empowered because of the greater light of their self is coming into space, consciousness coming into space. And simultaneously with that individual power, there is also this incredible power in groups and networking and connection, especially connection through things that have seemed to try to disempower people. Because, and so within all this, there's always contradictions, because this planet is one of separation and dichotomies and opposite. And so greater consciousness comes into form to experience individuality and distinction, and at the same time consciousness is everything. So consciousness is all experiences. So part of the evolution I see is this increasing empowerment with groups as greater consciousness is coming up. And where there's distortion, so the distortion in all of this is that, you are the only one, you're alone in all this. When there's like the shame keeping you from speaking out, all of those separations are part of the distortion within this. So when you aren't realizing that you are greater consciousness in form, creating this amazing experience, the flip side of that is feeling that you're powerless and these terrible things happening to you, but also are like inflicted upon you. So what we're also just seeing as this greater consciousness rises up on the collective is people who were deemed powerful because of their dominance are toppling. So all that external dominant power is actually disempowered. Their energy is outside their space. That's disempowerment. So it's quite an amazing thing going on today.
Well, and I think the challenge of talking about power is that we look at the form of it that it takes and we make judgments about it, right? And then we say, well, it's kind of like comparing apples and oranges, but maybe really mice and elephant. Really. and what is it? The meek shall inherit the earth. That's a popular saying. Because the truth is that energy shows up as everything. Everything is filled with potential. Everything is consciousness in some form and another, and it's resonating. And we may, in our limited sensory mechanisms, not be able to notice how that rock is alive because it's holding life in a different context. And some of us will notice and be able to track that, and many people won't. It's just in our own limits. We're limited by our sensory abilities. And then we have our thinking. And the challenge is that our thinking creates our reality because it is, once again, that malleable reality. And when you appreciate that, you realize that you're giving merit, you're giving value, you're giving justice to what's showing up in your world. And that is the ultimate power. That is the ability. And whether you're using it wisely and see, that's a judgment term, how you're using it and how it's showing up is subject to change, is subject to interpretation, is subject to many things. So in this seismic shift, you might be feeling a challenge to the call that you are with all this stuff, and how being in that authentic place as consciousness that voice is getting stronger. And so you get to reevaluate how you show up and what's important and how you want to demonstrate who you are. And that has great, great, deep resonance, right? So,
well, I want to jump in that because you said actually a long time ago now. It was it's like a river and it keeps flowing. But I wanted to mention the thing on the bank that was back there. So you were talking about how we're limited by our senses, and certainly when you're within your physical form, you're feeling limited, physically limited by your how far your body can extend, and then also how far you can feel. But I think that's part of this enormous energetic conscious expansion that we're experiencing, is that we're starting to feel on multidimensional levels. And so we are emotionally connecting with people from all around the world. We are sensing things that are beyond just our not only just our physical space, but also our normal physical, because I think mothers can tune in to their kids and things like that. We're extending that globally now, and that is a natural byproduct of consciousness coming into form, because those extrasensory perceptions are all spiritual abilities or consciousness abilities, and we're having that more and more. It's becoming more and more matter of fact. So,
there's a whole bunch of information what you were saying there. You know, the one that you were describing so well, the connectedness. Right? That you feel emotionally connected to people around the world and stuff. And that's one thing that I think technology reflects where men are, right? It reflects where consciousness is in manifesting itself. And so we have this connection. And I would think that it's coming from this deep place within us that says, this is all mine. I know this. I am this. And it's getting beyond the boundaries of a physical limitation. So we've managed to find physical ways, and don't ask me to explain electricity or magnetism. So, that's not my vernacular. But something happens, and I'm connected with you around the world. And so when you type something or show me something, and my eyes can't make the distinction between real and not real, I am there, it is real, and I get immediate connection. Now, how my body handles that might take some reorganization. And I don't know that we've spent a lot of time appreciating what we need to reorganize in connecting.
Well, consciousness technology is always trying to replicate consciousness. I think we just have this drive, this inner drive to, replicate being weightless. So, let's invent a flying machine. This telepathic ability that we have, let's create the telephone, and then create all the other technology that associates with us being able to instantaneously connect. And it's you described it perfectly from the body's perspective about how this can be kind of overwhelming, upgrading to that level. But my feeling with that is that it doesn't have to be a difficult upgrade,
right,
when you don't resist and you go along with the changes that happen. You can be as exhilarated by the connection in your physical form as you are as consciousness playing in this entire realm.
Well, that's the reframing that we have to do about how we have our world set up, right? If you have it that change and you can't notice change, you're in trouble right there, because you're going to notice change, you just won't know what it is. So that's upsetting. So if you clear that and just realize, okay, I am open to feeling something different, and because you can't resist it, it's coming from within. It's happening, baby, and you're the last one to get on the train there. So how do you want to do that? What is grace? What is appreciation? What is kindness towards oneself? And if you can take down that you have to react, and you don't have to hide from your own knowledge, because when you do that, you've empowered it to become something quite different than what you wanted it to be. Then you can kind of go to that neutral place that is consciousness. It's already there. You don't have to go looking for it. It's already there. It's just stepping into that where that is, and going, okay, if this could be easy, if this could be right where I'm supposed to be, if this is my opportunity to unload some stuff that drags around and in me and around me, kind of like Pigpen sometimes, what would that be like?
Pigpen from
Charles Schultz, right? What if I could embrace this? And so it's taking all the judgment off of oneself and just seeing yourself as this informational body and processor and creator, and it's doing all these things because it's organic and that's what life is, and just embracing oneself, giving oneself worth for whatever is in there.
I'm going to chime in on that.
Yeah.
Because because I loved how you just did that, because you were talking about showing grace and kindness to yourself, and the other note I jotted down is now turned into Arabic.
Okay.
The flip. So, but what I feel like is that there's the part of us that wants grace and kindness, and wants to be taken care of, and realizing that that's our body, our personality, our inner kids, or however you want to define it. That's the physical aspect of ourselves that wants those things. And that when we expand, make the shift, like you were saying, to greater consciousness, that you are consciousness, then you can start providing that to yourself in an amazingly expansive and effortless way. So all the things that you felt like you needed from the outside starts to be filled from the wellspring within.
Right. And last night it was, okay, these are the way things are showing up. And so let's go to heart space. So we go to heart space, and those things disappear.
Right. Yes.
And it's not that we're petty creatures, but we are. I mean, because we have this mind, and it's a habituated thought, and it's kind of like snapping, a mouth. That's all it knows how to do. And you just go, let me find the place in between that and this is now, and it's different.
Right.
And all that stuff is still there on some level, but how I relate to it is now coming from a different place.
Well, sometimes it is there on that some level, but also when you make a vibrational shift, when you are different, those things disappear out of the space that you're in. And that's not being denial about things happening everywhere else, but really when you step into consciousness, a lot of those things that were like major issues just suddenly vanish. They're not there anymore, including, people showing up as different characters. It's like my same husband. It's my husband, but it's a different Darren, like Darren from Bewitched. It's like suddenly all the things. It's like, well, what happened to these things of contention? They just don't exist anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's because you changed as Samantha.
That I wiggled my nose. I stepped into my Samantha-ness, and there wasn't anything. Well, and so that people have reported that as well, with like having like a contentious boss at work that they felt was psychotic or something, and then they just they step into a parallel universe where it was unfolding in their favor, and they go to work the next day and the boss had decided to quit. Mm-hmm. So and it's like, oh, you didn't make the boss quit, you stepped into a parallel universe where the boss was quitting. So it's about shifting and changing within yourself, has a reverberative effect in your external world. But as Janet, going into heart space, there's just this incredible feeling of benevolence, and it happens with ease and grace. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do you don't have to quit your job and divorce your husband and move across country or any of those things. It's like you make this shift, and the world reorganizes, and it's very gentle and very profound as it happens.
Yeah, we don't have control over anyone else, and we're all aspects of consciousness, right? Yeah. So if I get out of the judgment place about that, and I look at that person, and maybe I'm having an interaction with someone, and it's challenging me, you can go defensive, you can go aggressive, you can go into all kinds of different positions, and that's all coming out of a reality state that I have to challenge what shows up in my life. If you're not in that reality state, you're in a different reality state. She may never have shown up that way because you didn't show up that way. And that's what you're talking about, is what is your reality state that you're operating out of? And we are in many all at the same time. And one thing that's happening in this shaking that's going on is those reality states are moving. And they are kind of like just old buildings that are being blown up, and they crumble, right, to put up something new. And it's because you want to reuse that space.
Imploding. They're
imploding. Yeah, there you go. That's the image I had in my hand. Thank you for reading that. Okay. Seeing that.
Imploding does something different. I mean, than exploding, you know.
Right. And you just change the framework of how you are and how you express. And because all information ripples out, that's what starts to get out there. And so we're all rippling out in our stuff, and we've got these little extra vibrations that are in the space around us, and they're in us, and then we got another layer of where that connects. And so what's showing up for each of us to bump up against is all this activity, all these things that you can make these leaps, because you go, oh, I like that one, and you go there, and and I don't need this, and it just changes, you know. And that's what's exciting about all this.
And for those of you out there that are going, I have no idea what they're saying. I like the energy. I'm really having a hard time keeping up. What I recommend is if you're in the Northwest and can get to Portland or Seattle or Tacoma, come to our meetups to have a physical experience of it, or you can also, you know, attend Janet's Zoom groups online. And I have a webinar that's coming up on it's Thursday the 19th, I believe it is. Yeah, it's Thursday the 19th is a webinar. So I do monthly webinars, and those are ways that you can connect to this feeling and this sense of what this is about from wherever you are in the world. Because I'm following along what you're saying, Janet. It's like, yeah, you can just go there, and I'm talking about parallel universes, and it's like they make it sound really easy. But
well, it is if you get over yourself, right? Each of us had to get over ourselves and what we thought we were, and the way the world was constructed. And you know, sometimes it's abrupt and it's ugly and it's whatever it is, and then you go, oh, okay, that's what that was, and now I can enjoy this, you know. So it's like, yeah, we all have some history on us, don't we?
Yeah, I don't like the term getting over yourself because it can be, I mean, it's fine if you're laughing at your own ego, but it's unkind if it's something that's painful to you. Yeah. And so, you know, the idea of being able to shift into a parallel universe it's as effortless as changing lanes on the freeway. And any of us who drive on the freeway, and I like to drive on the left side because, you know, that's supposed to be the fast lane, and then you're there and find everybody else is there as well, and people are zooming by on the right side, and it's as effortless. You can have a completely different experience in your life as effortlessly as just shifting into the lane where movement is happening. You know, so there's one way that Janet's offered it is, you know, reframing. It's like changing your picture of what's going on. And for me, I would reframe how I'm experiencing reality or creating reality as greater consciousness. Yeah. And then that can, for me, become an intellectual exercise that defeats the point, because what we're talking about happens outside of our intellect, outside of our analytical mind. And so for me, that just even physically stepping from left or physically stepping right shifts you into a different reality, and it tricks your mind tricks your mind into having a different experience. And that even just sort of meanders into the realm of not having set intentions, because if you're trying to have a really set and precise intention for what universe you're stepping into, or exactly how you were reframing this experience, then that's actually still your mind. That's your analytical mind that wants to still control things, as opposed to the greater consciousness that doesn't have to control anything, because it's creating everything.
Yeah, really. Well, we almost do our commercial here.
We actually have I think, is it 7 minutes to our commercial? So we have.
Really?
But you know what?
Oh, okay.
But, you know, I can take a few minutes right here to remind people how to get in touch with us beyond the show. So we've raised all sorts of wonderful ideas and things. And so if you like our show and you want to know more, go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you can find our podcasts. You can listen to our podcasts. You can read our blogs. You can see where our meetups are happening. Come to our meetups, and you can also respond to our sessions, sign up for sessions with Janet. You can do them in person, on the phone, Zoom, or Skype. And I do mine on the phone, Zoom, or Skype as well. So you can interact with us directly that way. And then all our social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, links are on the site there, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And actually, go ahead and while we're kind of semi in this mode, Janet's in a different mode, but come back to this mode and tell them about your groups again. Your groups on Zoom. When are those happening?
Okay, those are on Thursdays. The Fuzzy Photon Playground Group. Now, Fuzzy Photons, if you're not familiar with quantum mechanics or physics or the quantum sciences, is really what we're all about. We are a cloud of photons floating around, and when you focus on one, the rest of them disappear. And that cloud is really just very, very active. So we're about going back to that state of ourselves as consciousness and just potential, because nothing is yet. And it's all vibrating and it's all moving. And we get to find where we can be different in the solidness of the pattern that's contained within, and you break free of that. And that's what we play with, and that's when we fall down, and that's when we do lots of different things. So if you want to join us, that's 10 a.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Pacific on Thursdays. And you can apply to me at janetb@janetandbeyond.com or our website, and you'll find all the information there. And
how they're at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific, and how long are those groups?
They're anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending upon how many people join us. It is a small group. It's intimate group dynamics. It's live interactive because you get to see each person, and you really establish immediately this connection that we've been talking about, how we are all one, how you can track each other. And we all have different ways of organizing how we experience our world through our senses, etc. And everybody's got something there, and we all gather together and look at information. We look at rule sets. We've talked a lot about rule sets here today, about how you contain what you're going to experience yourself as. And if you change something there, how everything changes. And those alternate realities parallel realities become very open to you. So it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of things.
So that's an opportunity for all of you out there who are non-local to connect with Janet on Thursdays at 10 a.m. and at 6 p.m. And then also you can meet with her in person at her meetups, which are on Tuesday night is that 7?
Yeah, 7 p.m. and Thursday afternoon.
At 1 o'clock. And those are both in Portland in her lovely home near Reed College. And for those of you who want to connect with me, my meetups usually on weekends. My first one this month is April 8th, Sunday at the Montlake Library at 2 o'clock in Seattle. And then my next one is a workshop that is being held at Cutter's Point Coffee's meeting room in Tacoma. That is April 22nd, Earth Day, at 2 p.m. And then I also have a meetup on the 28th, which is at the Wheelock Library in Tacoma. So those are meetups you can find out there. And I'm also, for non-local people, my monthly webinar this month is the 19th of April, and it's going to be about life beyond limits, how to live with infinite possibilities.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yes, so that is April 19th. Go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, to sign up for those and learn more about us.
Yeah, it's about showing up. And we're all showing up in different ways. And there's so much more information available to any of us over the internet and webinars and seminars and all those different kind of things. And so you get to be picky and choosy. Don't always just take the first one. Feel the one you're led to do. And in noticing that, because we all operate that way. Don't tell me you don't operate that way. The one that you feel led to do. And if it's challenging or it doesn't sound interesting, that's a clue for you to pay attention. That there's a difference between what you rationalize and reason in mind and what is coming from within you and saying, go here. And those opportunities are always present to react that way to things and respond in that kind. And, we do our work without judgment as much as the personal part of it, right? So, and that's very different for a lot of people.
Yes. So hold that thought or go to our website, and we are going to stop for a commercial break right now. But stay tuned, because when we come right back, we'll be talking more about seismic shift.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about seismic shifts.
Yeah, things are rattling and rolling out there, which is, it was kind of hard for me to put a name to it, but we're all kind of checking in on identity. And when you do that, you know that things are moving around. And if you're starting to question what's important to you and how you relate to others, then you're feeling this. And that's a good place to be. That's always a good place to be. You get to re-up.
Right. Yes, exactly. And touching base with is that when you touching base with where we started, which is that, you are consciousness, and when you're responding to these vibrational shifts as consciousness, you're dancing with them and you're not resisting them. You're totally in agreement with what's showing up, because it's all part of the fun creation of being here. If you're at Disneyland and you are on Star Tours, or if you're on, I've forgotten some of the other rides, but if you're on any ride at Disneyland, something's going to shock or surprise you. There's going to be something that'll make you, your heart beat faster. And
even when you know that's going to happen.
Yes, exactly.
That's what's interesting about that, right? You ride that, and you've ridden it before, and and you have a certain expectation, but still is different, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and it's probably just at that moment you're going to have your picture taken as well. So smile, but that is something if you think about how you're going about your daily life, and even if it seems shocking or surprising or that's showing up right now, it's part of the creation of consciousness, and then it becomes fun and enjoyable. Or some things may not be fun, but it's part of the bigger expansion. So it's just easier to have it, to handle. It's easier to enjoy it. It becomes creating this moment of joy rather than this doom and gloom experience.
Well, Joan, the energy has settled. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't, and calmness and stillness, those are interesting words, peace or words. That doesn't mean things stop. That means that there's a flow happening, and that the flow is in a harmonious resonance, and that's what I'm noticing. That as our listeners and whatever time and place and space we're at, is that there is oneness here. There is, no matter what's going on out there within, there is this flow. And that's what we want to appreciate. And rapids make the water interesting, and then you can go and down the waterfall, and it all keeps moving. It all keeps moving inside.
Right. You can stop white knuckling, holding on, and lift your hands high in the air and go, whee.
Well, that moment of where you throw yourself over and it could be ugly, and you go, oh, you just pop back up, and it's not what you thought it was at all.
Well, and that's, that actually reminds me of times that I've had things coming up that I felt fearful or, concerned about. And when I just, walk straight through them with my eyes wide open, it dissipates. They become nothing. It's like, why was I even concerned about that? Or it becomes something that I've risen to the occasion and my greater self can handle.
Well, it's interesting how one awareness can lead to another awareness. And I just got a shiver up the back of my head when you were describing that, because I felt how one awareness leads to another awareness. And you're so in the moment of the awareness, you don't notice where you've been or where you are. And because everything is different. And that's what life is full of, those moments as. And we want to embrace those. Because then you're challenging your complacency. Habituated thought is complacent. It doesn't matter what it is about. There's a complacent in it. And that's okay sometimes. But
I wouldn't say all habituated thoughts is complacent.
Well, there is
because you've got habituated. Well, you've got habituated thoughts that are hysterical too.
Well, I know, but that's the nature of it. Is that you're in that moment, there is nothing else, and that makes it easy. I mean, really, we have to challenge ourselves to why we do things the way we do. So I don't have a problem with calling it that. You may feel it differently, but there's still a certain vibe in there that says this is the easier way. It's more challenging to change.
Okay, so complacent says in our last 3 minutes, showing smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements. But sometimes a habitual reaction is to be hysterical about everything happening. So that's not smug. That's just reactionary.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it that way.
Hey, that can be a topic for next week.
Social media might be something to talk about, I suppose.
That is actually
power of social media.
About power of
and what's really going on there.
The different new ways of communicating.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. Just a quick reminder, go to our website, Conscious Conversations with joanandjanet.com to hear more and find out more.
Boy, there's something up in the top of my left brain there, everybody. So check in and see what you got there. There might be some reorganization happening. It's pretty strong.
Yes. And
yeah.
All right. So another quick reminder is that we have meetups going on in April. Go to our website to find out about meetups, and also go to the website to find out about Janet's groups as well. Conscious Conversations with JoanandJanet.com.
Yeah. And today, enjoy life.
Exactly. Well, and also I want to acknowledge all of you for listening, because you are helping to contribute to the morphic field of the show, regardless of whenever you're listening to this. There is no time or space. It's consciousness. So thank you very much for being part of this collective and individual experience.
We do challenge ourselves, don't we? Thank you, everyone. It's lovely to be with you again and tag along your adventure. See what's happening.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And join us next week. Same time, same channel.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.